Podcast City Network.
Thank you for tuning in on this episode of The Everett Lee Show. But before we get on with the guest onto the program today, there's a couple things I do want to mention that you can help out with supporting The Everett Lee Show. If you're looking to start a podcast and already have a podcast and you're looking for an affordable podcasting hosting site, Podbean's your number one choice. Podbean offers statistics with in-depth analytics to manage your podcast needs. Use the promo code podbeam.com/pbsignup and get a free month off. That's podbeam.com/pbsignup to get a free month off and see why 1,500 episodes have been shared all over the world in the past 11 years with over 3,000 subscribers that have chose Podbeam as their number one hosting site. And if you're looking to get into advertising, Podbeam advertising, you'll get $100 off advertising when you sign up as a sponsorship over on podbeam.com/pro/pbsignup. That's podbeam.com/pro/pbsignup.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of The Everett Lee Show. I'm The Everett Lee. First off, I want to thank everyone for heading over to podcasting.net/shop and picking up Podcast City Network merchandise and apparel. Thank you so much for the support and sharing it on social media and showing off that Podcast City Network merchandise. Thank you so much. Final Score and Deathmatch Wrestle Podcast has been added to the podcastcity.net/shop section. Be sure to head over there and support both those shows. More shows will be added soon to the shop section of podcastcity.net. You can also pick up Everett Lee Show merchandise over on shop.spreadshirt.com/Everett Lee Show. Everett Lee Show merchandise will be added to the podcastcity.net/shop section soon. Today's episode was taken recently from ELS Uncut, an episode there where Ripper Blackheart and myself spoke with comic book creator and writer and artist Mikey Wood. On this episode, we'll discuss what Mikey Wood has been doing during quarantine. He also discusses his comics Solitaire and El Fantasmo as well. We also get into a discussion of crossover comic books such as Superman, Aliens, Predator, and much, much more there. We also talk about the theories and our discussion on comic book characters such as the Punisher and the psychology of the Joker. We also talk about Marvel Comics, DC Comics, a lot of comic book talk. I really enjoyed talking with Mikey Wood. But the funny thing about this episode is that I pretty much kind of take a little bit of a backseat because Ripper Blackheart and Mikey Wood go way back. And they pretty much start off this conversation catching up. They haven't talked to each other in a while. It's a really great conversation in this episode. I hope y'all enjoy it.
What's up, man? I wore my little headphones today for you guys.
Nice.
The small ones. Yeah.
They're so
What's up?
petite.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you
Cool,
good. Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Nothing, man.
What have you been doing, Mikey?
Just today? Like, just today?
Like I say, I have not really looked at you. I figured out it's like 16, 17 years since.
Yeah, you've been fortunate. Yeah, you've been lucky for that. Yeah.
That's not bullet.
No, nothing, man. Just kind of hanging out. You know, working on stuff, and working from home. I've been working from home since March, so I haven't really gone any further than like my front curb to take garbage out in like 7 months or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm like doing the hermit thing, and I dig it. Like, I'm getting a lot of work done. I worked on a web strip for a long time. I got a like one whole section of that taken care of and done, and I'm going back to it a little bit. Writing a lot downloading a lot of music illegally, you know, doing that kind of stuff.
Eating cereal in underwear in the afternoon.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like that guy that did you read about the New York Times guy who was on a Zoom call? Did you read about that today?
No. What happened?
The story popped up right before
Yeah, he works for the New York Times, and he was on a Zoom call with a bunch of people, and he just decided, you know what, I'm gonna jerk off a little bit, and he didn't realize it was connected or anything. So I avoid that kind of stuff for that very reason.
What the hell would?
That's why I go to the bathroom and I shut the door like God intended.
Right. Even like if nobody's here, because I don't want anybody to accidentally even see any of that stuff.
That's nuts, man. That is nuts. You just sit there and I'm on a Zoom call. Yeah, I'm just gonna it's like, how can you not see like the gyration of the arm? You know, just.
Mm-hmm. Well, he said he thought he was disconnected and everything like that, but you know, that's one of those things where you really need to make sure, like you really need to be careful. You know, in this day and age where we're doing everything through Zoom and everything, just be careful. Just, shut your computer down before you go to do, because I get it, I get it. It's the middle of the day. You're bored. You're stressed out. You got to do something, Can't really drink on the job, I guess.
No.
See, you say that, but my brother's like a manager to a Honda supply, right?
Yeah.
And they were doing these work for probably about 4 or 5 months. They were at home. They was having their Zoom meetings. Yeah. And he was there with his beer and his cigarette during these meetings. And his one boss was like, dude, you can't keep doing that. He goes, are you going to fire me? And they're like, oh, no. He's like, then shut the fuck up.
That's right. Yeah.
He's like, because I'm home. I'm going to drink a beer. I'm going to smoke my cigarette.
That's right. That's true. It's a whole new dynamic.
Like, you said, you're lucky I'm dressed.
So now, Everett, where are you? Florida?
Yeah, I'm in Daytona Beach. That's
nice.
Where I'm at. Yeah. The weather's pretty good right now. It's still hot, but it's not humid like it's been. It's starting to actually like cool down quite a bit right now, which is good because in the evening it's cooled down a little bit, but there's been a couple days where you can still feel the humidity when you walk out.
Nice.
When you walk out your door, but it not blazing like hell's inferno during this summer here, man. You walk outside your door and it's like the heat just punch you in the stomach and take your breath, man.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't do it, man. I like seasons. Like, well, I'm in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh only has 2 seasons, really. Like we have winter and we have summer, and then every so often there's like a random sprinkling of spring. Like you have spring for like 2 days, and then fall for maybe a week. I don't know, but
it's the same here. Same here in Ohio. It's like, especially last year. It's like it skipped spring altogether.
Man, last time I saw you had hair. That's what I'm thinking.
Telling you,
that's
like, Mikey, I said, I've gone through some changes. Mikey looks exactly the same. I said, I just have long, luscious black hair.
You did luscious. Yeah, man. You did. That's good. So
I got into the wrestling, and I've lost my hair twice in wrestling matches. And the last time, I was like, yeah, it's not coming back.
Like you lost it, like they cut it off, like all Brutus the Barber Beefcake style.
Yes.
See, I'm not. See that's funny because you guys are like, I guess, wrestling. Is wrestling the main focus of the show? Because I haven't.
Originally, that's pretty much what Everett did was wrestling, but he's like, I want to branch out. I want to talk about movies. I want to talk about comics.
Yeah.
So he's brought me on, and I'm
that's cool.
I know some comic guys.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man. Because the last time I actually watched wrestling on a regular basis was like WrestleMania 3. Like I was like a kid. Like I'm 47, so I was like.
Yeah. So we're same age. So.
Yeah. So that's like back when there was like a cartoon and all that stuff.
But I found out recently. How do you know Laura Lovelace?
How do I know Laura Lovelace? Oh, yeah. Well, I knew her from before she started all this stuff, when she was like 16 years old, going to the coffee shop that I used to go to all the time, like when she was a kid. I mean, she's still a kid, really, basically. But yeah, so this was like pre all that, so I've watched her like go from like being really kind of like this sort of timid, quiet kind of kid to being like the Valkyrie or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's like, and it kind of like indirectly like got me sort of, I sort of watched it, because for me, the only wrestling, if I do watch wrestling, I want it to be like some dude in his backyard, you know, like who built a ring out of like pallets and like really risks bodily harm doing what he's doing, but just like, you know, like redneck backyard wrestling kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I like, just because of the whole, you know, the sheer manicness of it. Or like when I know people like Regina Badger, like I know her too, like from prior to this whole thing. Yeah. So and that's so bizarre, because it's like, seems like it's like all of these women that I know who are getting into the wrestling thing, and it's like, that's pretty badass, you know. And they were people I wouldn't want to fuck with in the first place, and now that I know that they could probably, like, you know, power slam me, I've now, you know, they're good chicks, man. You know, yeah. So they're so I don't know. Is that like is that an Ohio Pittsburgh area thing?
She comes to Ohio. She wrestles all over, but she comes to Ohio, and actually, for a while, she used to come to Akron to a promotion I worked at, Ohio Championship Wrestling. Yeah. And I was her manager as the Ohio Championship Wrestling.
Oh, wow. All right.
Champion. So then when you messaged her, when you commented on one of her posts the other day, it's probably been about a month or so ago, I'm like, what? I was like...
Yeah, man. Pittsburgh is just like the smallest. It's the biggest little town in the world. Yeah, everybody knows somebody. You know what I mean? Right. And if they don't, you know, everybody's maybe like 1 degree of separation, if that. But yeah, so that's you know, I've watched her kind of back when she started to get the idea and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool watching that kind of stuff. And it's funny, because one of my web strip that I do, which is it's available on Graphite. We used to have this whole thing called 7x7, which was all Pittsburgh creators, seven Pittsburgh creators, 7 days a week. That got shut down just due to the everyday keeping up with it, and the readership was kind of low. So a lot of us moved our stuff over to graphite.com. So it's The Adventures of El Fantasma, and it's a
I was
luchador. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and it's luchador. So like, but I love those old luchador movies, because they're, you know, the budgets were like $6 or pesos. They were probably like, you know, 6 pesos, and like El Santo and Blue Devil and stuff, like El Santo and the Aztec mummies and all those other things. And there's tons of them. There's like, I think El Santo did like 30 something movies, and it's just something they would do on the weekends in between whenever he was being sent. And it's like, the thing that's so absurd to me is just, you know, with the mask, always in the mask, yes. You know, mask in a suit. You know, so he's just this guy. So I took that idea, and I wanted to do my own. Basically, I kind of wanted to do a Hellboy story. Right. And then I thought to myself that Hellboy's kind of like those Blue Devil movies, kind of. Yeah. You know, he's just this working class, you know, fights monsters. So then I went back to that, and from doing some research of different moves and things like that, it's like I've been getting into the whole, and wow, it's so funny how different like the Mexican wrestling is, the classic Mexican, and then sidebarred into the Japanese stuff, which is like madness. Yeah. It is. It is just the luchador.
Got its own culture.
Yeah.
Exploding barbed wire, like regular barbed wire, it just wasn't good enough.
It's never good enough. There's always something. There's always something, man. Like you said, luchador style Mexican wrestling is totally different from Japan. And the thing about those that both of them have in common is that they're passionate, really passionate about the sport. And
they are.
They definitely are. Now, you mentioned Hellboy. I love Hellboy. I love the movies. I picked up at a store when I lived in Tennessee where I used to go get my comics. They were running a special edition of Hellboy that you could buy actually for 25 cents an issue.
Oh yeah,
it's when he had they did it in the first movie where he dug up, I guess, Rasputin, and he threw him on his back. It was that issue, 25 cents. I bought 5 of those things. I said, I'm buying 5 of these things. Quarter. I was like, are these a quarter? Yeah, they're a quarter. I grabbed 5. I think there was like 2 left. I'm like, I'll leave a couple for someone. But I still got 4 of them. I gave one away to a friend for a birthday gift. But I just
you big spender. You big spender.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. No, I'm. He's that sort of story is kind of like. There's nothing better than just like some kind of jamoke fighting a bunch of monsters, like that's like the best stories. He's just some guy. If he wasn't a demon from hell, it would be just as fun, So that's the idea of El Fantasma. So El Fantasma is like the greatest luchador ever in Mexico City. And what I did was, I wanted it to be as accurate as I could to things. So I did research it, and I didn't realize until I started this comic that in Mexico City there's the Arena Coliseo down there is just all it is it's just a wrestling arena. Yeah. They don't do anything else in it. It's like they built this whole arena just for luchador, just for lucha libre down there. Mm-hmm. And if you go on Google Maps, you could actually like walk into the doors and through it and see all of these seats, and they're not playing around, man. Like they have that's the entire thing is devoted just to lucha, and it's been there since the 50s or something.
Yeah, it's almost like
so that's a lot of fun, and so I've been using and right now I'm drawing scenes where what's that? It's like a religion. Yeah.
It pretty much
crazy
is,
and
man. I mean, it is.
So that's I mean and I didn't realize it was so like I thought it was kind of I thought they thought it was as silly as I did, but I didn't realize like they take this stuff like this is serious. Like Santo. When he was about to retire, he took his mask off for the first time on a live television interview. Like just for a second, just kind of picked it up and put it down, and it was people lost their minds. People just like I can't believe that happened. So, that's kind of where El Fantasma came from, and so doing all of that and knowing the amount of respect that so it made me since I'm not Mexican at all, I'm Italian and Irish. I wanted to make sure that I did everything in sort of a respectful sort of way. So it went from being originally it was going to be sort of silly, and then I realized like they kind of they take it really seriously. So I decided to kind of like dial back the silliness of it, just in case it gets some kind of a genuine audience somewhere. And mixing Aztec mythology into it and Mayan mythology into it with the monsters and things like that, and it's the journey to the underworld. If you've ever read anything about like Aztec, the journey to the underworld, like you'd think that dying is enough, right? You die, so you should go to the underworld. That dying enough sucks, but before you even reach the underworld, you have to swim through like rivers of like pus and blood and obsidian shard rain, and they flay your skin and a cheetah eats your heart, and that's just to get into the underworld. Like there's like just so like here we got it like Judeo-Christian people. We have it so easy. You just die and you either go to heaven or you go to hell. That's it. And, nothing happens. But in the Aztec religion, the Mayan religion, they were just like, okay, so you're dead. That's the first step. Now here's 9 more, levels that you have to climb through just to see if you're worthy at the end. And even then, at the end, they might be, the Lord of the Underworld there might be like, nah, nope, you did all that for nothing. So that's what I'm in the middle of now. I'm in the middle of El Fantasma. And
now you release, is that the strip is that the one you're releasing as a strip?
Yeah, that's the strip. It used to be every week I updated it. But now I'm just throwing them up in chapters up on Graphite. So the first chapter, El Fantasma versus the Spider Women, that's up there. If you go to graphitecomics.com and look up the Adventures of El Fantasma, that'll pop up there.
I know what. Everett's writing that down right now.
Yeah, man.
I've heard of Graphite.
It's fun.
I've heard of that. That's pretty cool. I like that.
I appreciate that. And Hate Your Friends is up there. I don't know if you remember Hate Your Friends was a book.
That's what you was working on the last time.
Right. So the first volume of that is up there, and the second volume's written. I just got to find time to draw it. It's, that's the hardest thing is finding time for everything.
Yeah. Trust me.
Well, like I got a kid now. I've had a kid since then, and all that.
The only thing is both my kids are in college now, so
yeah.
But like I said, I work for 4 different wrestling promotions. I work behind the scenes on 3 of them.
Wow.
I write TV for 1 of them right now up till February. Yeah, and so like all the comic book shit has.
Yeah.
And I have like 20 million. The only thing I completed I decided to stop trying to do like a series.
Yeah.
So I'm like, everything I write is going to be a graphic novel. Everything. Do
them all in one chunk. Yeah, that is the.
I did one. It's Doc Devil and the Monster Squad, and I got that completed. And the guy who's supposed to draw, he works for like Ohio State as an illustrator, so it's been slow going with that.
Yeah.
But my son is an English major.
Okay.
And he's into writing and all this. And like one of his main goals is become an English professor and be able to teach a class on comics.
Oh yeah, man.
That's cool.
It's mythology and all that. So I got really big into the public domain stuff, and, open source, and I decided I'm going to have my own public domain universe, and I started picking a bunch of stuff and working stuff, and then I finally narrowed it down. There's like 3 different characters that have the name the Black Bat domain. So I'm like, well, I'm going to connect them all. I'm going to make it so they're all connected somehow.
Nice.
You got like the pulp character, and then there's like a villain character that had like just one little one-off thing, and then you have like the popular one that everybody seems to flock to now, which a lot of people, he's like Batman, where if you read about him, he's a lot more like Daredevil than he is Batman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They had Dynamite had something with him for a while.
I've been getting like any kind of versions of this that I could through the past couple of years. So I finally wrote it all out, starting with the pulp character, had him starting in the 40s. Here it is. It's the 80s. He's an old man, and I put in some other characters, and they pop up from the past. He goes to help them. And it's the death of the Black Bat. So you're seeing this guy towards the tail end of his career of crime fighting, and I got that completely written. And I had my son. I was like, "You want to edit this for me?" Because that's one of the things he does for school stuff. He's like, "Yeah." So he went through it and all this other stuff. I said, "Hey, you want to punch this up some? You want to?" Because my writing, I don't really write. I plot.
Yeah,
and I throw in some dialogue here and there, so that when artist has it, he gets a sense of what's going on. So Logan took it and started rewriting stuff, and he had the basic plot. He was adding, what he showed me he had done before he started back to school, probably about a third through it. I was like, I suck. I tried to say.
Yeah.
It's so good with what he writes, and it's basically, we had Wayne Smith on here. Me and Wayne Smith did a Moon Knight project we were going to submit when they were going to bring back the Epic line.
Yeah.
That's how we did it. I wrote out the way I write, which was basically a plot, and then Wayne took it over, and Wayne's like, I didn't think this was going to work, but once I got your stuff and I added all this in, and then we gave it to the artists and stuff, and the stuff that they turned out, Wayne was like, holy shit, we're going to work for Marvel.
Yeah. Well, that was that's the old way that Marvel used to do things. Basically, Marvel, the way it actually became known as the Marvel method or the Marvel way. How they wrote things was, say Stan Lee would just basically write like sort of a basic plot. Daredevil and Stiltman battle each other in the streets of Manhattan and blah blah blah. Give it to the artist, and the artist would draw the whole book. That's why so many of those 60s and 70s books are all fight scenes. Because that's what the artist would draw for 22 pages, just fight scenes. Yeah. And then they'd hand it back to Stan, and Stan would do all the dialogue. So that's why all those old Marvel comics are people having full conversations while punching each other to shit over the streets of Manhattan, but they're having these big long conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense now. Actually, just thinking about that, because when I was about 12, 13. When I was really getting into Marvel at the time, I got into Thor. Thor's still my favorite, and that makes sense now, because I'm going flip through the pages. Here they are, Thor's fighting Loki, and they're throwing punches and kicks. And there's dialogue, and it's like, wow, okay, so they can talk trash and kick each other's butt,
Yeah, which, if you've ever, since you guys wrestle, that's really hard to do. You can't really do that kind of thing while you're flipping somebody up in the air. You can't be like, and let me tell you a little bit about my sister-in-law, it's that's why all those books are the way they are, because they would do, and it was an expediency kind of way of doing it. It was to get them the artist to draw the books faster, and then Stan would just go in there and do his thing. So that's how that worked. So you're doing your own kind of method. I write full scripts, I'm sort of skimpy on the panel descriptions because I draw it anyway.
See, the kid does it all. The kid does.
That's awesome.
The dialogue, the script, panel, how he wants it. I want this scene.
That's
cool.
cool.
From this perspective, I'm like, holy.
It's fun. I mean, it's a fun thing to do. It's a great way to kind of tell. But I also I'm constantly writing something. Like I wrote a Fantastic Four screenplay. I don't know if you saw. I posted that on Facebook. I wrote a Fantastic Four screenplay just because I wanted to see if I could figure out a way to work them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of thing. Yeah. So I ended up writing, it's like 120 something pages, or more than that it's a screenplay, and I think it works okay. And you read the Green Hornet thing that I was working on.
You sent me the Green Hornet stuff, and that's probably much better than some of the stuff that's been put out in recent history.
Yeah, the Green Hornet.
Yeah. So do you have that up online there?
Stuff. Remember Now Comics?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do I have it online? I mean, I post them up to Facebook sometimes. I don't have anything. I need to get like an actual website.
You should.
Yeah.
And just throw stuff up there.
Didn't you did like a Planet of the Apes crossover with something too?
I did Planet of the Apes and Terminator crossover.
No way.
And then I'm not done with it yet, but I did a Planet of the Apes Aliens one. So that takes place like the at the end of Alien Resurrection, the director's cut of it, they land on Earth and they find out that they're like in this bombed out Paris. Like you see the Eiffel Tower tipped over and all that other stuff. So it goes off of that. So while everything's been going, because all if you look at the alien stuff, all of that stuff is in space. These people have been off-world for generations. Right. So they come back to Earth and they find this sort of like a, how do I explain it? They find it's an ape and humans sort of living together, but the apes are like this faux royalty. It's almost like there's a king and there's knights and things like that in France, and they have an alien king down in the basement, and they have tradition where they send, once every full moon cycle, they send a human into what's called the away lands, and it's called the away lands because it's actually a Wayland Yutani a facility underneath the island, and all that other stuff. So they just do this thing to thin the herd of the humans every so often. But there's that, and but the Terminator one actually works out better than
creative, man.
He is, dude. I'd love to read about Planet of the Apes and Terminator and Planet of the Apes and Alien. Yeah. I do want to mention this right here. I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive more into the conversation right here. But first, there's a couple things I do want to mention. Since 1995, HighSpots.com has grown to be the company it is by serving the wrestling fans throughout the world with a great selection of merchandise. HighSpots.com has everything a wrestling fan could want, including the latest WWE and TNA releases, classic wrestling merchandise, and their HighSpots.com exclusive releases. HighSpots.com is the leading online retailer for professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, offering autographs, figures, DVDs, apparel, wrestling gear, and even wrestling rings. Their largest clients include WWE, Impact Wrestling, ROH, and AEW. Click on the HighSpots logo on the Everett Lee Show page over on podcasty.net to order. Whether you are a wrestling fan, pro wrestler, or promoter, you can find what you're looking for at highspots.com. If you grew up as a kid in the 1980s or just a fan of 1980s pop culture, then 80 Tees is for you. 80 Tees sells a huge variety of licensed t-shirts featuring characters, movies, TV shows, video games, and music stars from the 1980s through today. They also have great costumes from 80s pulp culture too. 80tees.com sells officially licensed pulp culture t-shirts. As you might guess, their focus is on the 1980s, but do sometimes sell other cool pulp culture related tees. 80s Tees has been in business since 2000, meaning they like retro 80s stuff too before it was cool. Follow the link provided in the description section of this episode for more. 80stees.com.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
Two of my favorite crossover comics, I think I mentioned this with you, Ripper. Batman vs. Predator, and then there was RoboCop vs. Terminator.
That one's awesome.
Yeah, those were my favorites there. And even Aliens vs. Terminator vs. Superman. That was cool. I love the plot twist. Lex is like, I've been funding Skynet.
Yeah.
Cool as
the
hell.
Superman Alien one is really cool. The first Superman Alien one where he actually gets, because he ends up far from a sun, so he loses all of his powers.
Yeah, I have
because
that.
That one, and he ends up actually getting an embryo in him, but then he gets near a sun and he actually just uses his own like lung power to crush it, and he vomits it up at the end, which is badass. Like that's some of those they did a they've been doing Planet of the Apes crossovers. Boom Studios has been doing them. They did one for it was Planet of the Apes Green Lantern, and it's great. And there's one called Planet of the Apes and Star Trek, and it's called Primate Directives, and it's so good.
No way.
It's so good.
Yeah, my brother got one in the 90s. It was Planet of the Apes and Alien Nation, and it was called Ape Nation.
Dude, no way. Alien Nation, I remember that show back in the day, man.
Yeah.
In the movie.
It was like 3 issues or something, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember where he got it. I just remember bringing it home. I'm like, what the hell is
that was from Malibu Comics way back when, which became part of Image, I think, at one point. They had their own little Planet of the Apes book that ran for a while, and the art on them was kind of terrible, but those have early Dave Dorman covers, those Ape Nation books. Dave Dorman, who went on to do a bunch of like Star Wars stuff and things. So that's kind of it's better than it has a right to be.
Right.
And people seem to really dig the Planet of the Apes Terminator one that I did. It's called Judgment Day on the Planet of the Apes because Terminator and it kind of works
nice
with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to ask you, just like you mentioned Marvel, growing up, were you more of a Marvel or DC?
I was a DC kid. I'm still a DC guy. I love DC books. I don't know why it is. I started out, so the way I really started reading comics was like everybody my age. It was G.I. Joe and Transformers, man. That was like, because you had a cartoon and you had toys and you had animated commercials telling you to buy the comics, and so I bought those comics, and then so those I read for a while until I got to be like, I don't know, I was in high school or something when I stopped reading the G.I. Joe, because at one point G.I. Joe was like everybody was a ninja and they all went to high school together. Like everybody knew everybody.
Really campy there.
Snake Eyes was in it. At first it was like, okay, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were connected. That's badass. Okay. They're both ninjas. That's awesome. And then it was like Zartan is one, and Firefly was a ninja, and like they were all members of the same clan, and it just got to be way too much.
Right.
And it's stupid. But somewhere in that window in the early '80s, I didn't discover, but it was Batman. Batman grabbed me, and this was a few years before the movie. Because when the movie came out, you couldn't get away from Batman was everywhere.
It was.
And
it was everywhere.
My uncle was big into the 60s Batman, and I thought it was cheeseball, but I love it now. Like, I love it so much now. But I read, I was on a trip, and I remember exactly, and I still have the comic. I was on a trip to Vermont with my family, and it was raining, and it was just shitty. We were camping. And we went to some local little Five and Dime, and they said, hey, you could get a couple of comics if you wanted to. So I grabbed like a Micronauts The New Voyages #1 and some Hulk issue. I think it was like Hulk 300 or something. And then I bought Batman Special #1, and it was with art by Mike Golden. And it was like just so good, this book. And I got really into Batman as of that point and started buying that. And then 1986 happened. Yeah. And 1986 was like the single greatest year of comics because it was like Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, all that shit came out in 1986.
Yeah.
And I just stayed kind of firmly, and I just didn't like the way that I thought DC as a company took bigger risks. Like they put out books like V for Vendetta and Hellblazer and Swamp Thing, and I got really into that stuff.
Yeah.
And Marvel would never publish a book like Hellblazer.
No,
ever.
No. I love Hellblazer. I discovered Hellblazer after watching the Keanu Reeves movie of that. And they said it was based off a comic. And then when I dug into the comic, I'm like, Hollywood messed us up, man. It's like John Constantine had blonde hair, trench coat. He was English. Yeah. He wasn't, Keanu Reeves. Like, I just stepped out.
That's the only part I get really nerdy and geeky about.
John being English is very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very important to the character. Now, like the movie wasn't bad. I mean, the movie got a lot of stuff really, really right.
Visually,
it just didn't get its main. Its main character
was great, man. It was fantastic, man. Mm-hmm. I loved it visually, but they pretty much got the basis down. It's like John Constantine is sending demons to hell, and my favorite part of the movie is when the devil comes and he tries to take him to hell. I love that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's good. So I mean, all of those things, and when Alan Moore took his, like Swamp Thing in the beginning was just sort of like a B-movie monster kind of thing. Swamp guy fighting other creatures and the Unmen and Arcane and all that other stuff. And then Alan Moore came on, and it just like completely changed everything. And I don't know if you guys saw the recent Swamp Thing TV series.
No, I saw a preview of it. Did you see? Because I used to watch the Swamp Thing TV series back when I was a kid, man. It used to come on like on the weekends, like late night on USA. I'd sit there, me and my nephew would get him to stay up, but it was like I'd watch him. I'd be like, "Don't tell your dad," and we're sitting there watching Swamp Thing at 11 o'clock at night. It was just great, and even the movies were great too. The two movies movies. I enjoyed them as a kid. I know when I was little, when the first one came out, that scared the crap out of me towards the end there.
Yeah.
But still, it's still great. Still great series.
And that that old TV series was shot down there at Universal Studios in Florida. That's where it was shot down there. So, and I have all of those things on DVD too, because I'm just obsessed. And I just like Swamp Guy. So like, I do have like a bunch of Man Thing issues, because Man Thing and Swamp Thing were sort of like, both had the same writer and creator somehow or another. They were sort of connected. So they they say one ripped off the other, but in actuality they both ripped off the Heap from the 1930s anyway. So they have these I have them over on the shelf, these hardcover collected editions of the old Heap comics, which was Heap was like a World War I, I think, fighter pilot who crashed and then for some reason became this swamp creature.
There's like 2 or 3 different origins.
So there was the Heap. I mean, swamp monsters have been around in comics for forever, and I just, for some reason, I love that, because they're always, I like that horror kind of aspect of things. So every so often I go back to Marvel, and I read, for Marvel books I follow artists. Like there's a guy, Chris Bachalo, I'll buy anything he works on. So he'll work on Spider-Man for a while, so I'll buy Spider-Man for a while, and then he'll work on X-Men for a while, and then he did Doctor Strange. He did a really good run of Doctor Strange for a while, Chris Bachalo did. This was a couple years ago. So I still kind of, dabble in there. And I'm reading some stuff online recently, a Marvel massive crossover thing called Empire that just kind of wrapped up. Empire is really cool, man. It's like the Kree and the Skrulls start working together against this alien race, like this vegetation alien race called the Kotati, and who want to take over the Earth and kill all the fleshlings and make Earth, vegetarian. But not actually the opposite of vegetarian. They don't want to be eaten. But anyway,
right.
Empire is pretty badass. I'm wrapping up, and it crosses over into books that I never would have read before, and I'm reading all of it, like, Fantastic Four and Captain Marvel and all these other things, So that's a lot of fun. I recommend Empire, but yeah, I read a lot of DC, like Vertigo, what used to be Vertigo and is now Black Label, that stuff. And a lot of Image stuff, because Image in the past 15, 20 years has been, like, mind-blowing.
I've heard.
So many good books. Oh yeah, man.
And they're not tethered to everything's got to fit in this universe.
Right. Yeah, I think continuity kind of ruins everything. Like, I think, in my mind, every time a new creative team takes over a title, they should just start from ground zero.
Yeah.
Start all over. Make it your own thing.
Right, hit the reset.
Feels like that's what they're doing at PC
button.
now, anyways. Feels like every time you turn around, they're rebooting the whole damn thing.
And that's fine with me. Just be good comics. It's like, I mean, like, do you guys, wrestling? I understand the appeal of wrestling to comic book fans. Like, I get it. Like, at first, I was like, I don't understand, because I got snooty about it. I was like, I don't understand how these perfectly intelligent people that I know can be into this stuff, because it's like, so, but now I get it, because they are basically just like comic book plots.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That's how I explain it. To me, wrestling has always been a live-action comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They followed a lot of the same trends. Like, in the 90s, arguably the biggest character in the 90s was Spawn.
Yeah.
Right.
Which would classically he'd be labeled as an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And pro wrestling in the 90s, there was no one bigger than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The anti-hero.
Also, an anti-hero. They follow a lot of the same trends too, when they're going. And like I said, that's always been the appeal to me of wrestling. Because it was there was guys with the makeup, and the mask.
Yeah.
Like good versus evil, and that's always been the appeal of wrestling to me. Is it all started with comics?
Exactly.
And
Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior.
My favorite band's Kiss is because the first time I ever saw them was the TV movie where they're portrayed as like superheroes.
Kiss in the Phantom of the Park, man.
Yeah, and they have their own Marvel comic, and sign me up.
Ripper, talking about comics, talking about Kiss. What'd you think of that collection? I came across a bunch of comics where I work at, and they were donated, and they were sitting there on the shelf. No one picked them up, and I started going through looking, and I was like, wow. So I ended up buying them, and I sent some screenshots to Ripper. And Ripper, I know, was laughing because a bunch of them was like a bunch of Marvel comics of Barbie, but they had some Archie, and one of the comic books, it was the issue 2 of Archie meets Kiss meets Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Right.
I was like, dude, this is awesome, man.
There's a great... they did some wackies. There's an Archie Punisher one out there too that's supposed to be really cool.
I have Archie Predator.
Archie.
Oh my god, Archie! Wow, poor Archie, man.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Damn.
Well, there's Archie in the past like 10 years or something got huge. Like because they started putting some more. There's a book, Life with Archie, that Norm Brayfold would. I mean, that was long. That was more than 10 years ago, probably. But it got sort of more like soap opera-y, sort of like slice of life kind of stuff. Yeah. And it was really good. Like it was later on in their life, so they weren't in high school anymore. And it was like, and now with Riverdale on TV, which I haven't watched, but I understand it's kind of.
They've sucked me in every season. Of course, I'm a sucker. If you put some kind of mystery in any type of TV show, I usually get sucked into it because I want to try to figure it out before the show ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard it was good.
It's like Twin Peaks. It's like intro to Twin Peaks kind of thing. It's like for like tween Twin Peaks or something. So I love that kind of stuff.
Tween Peaks.
Yeah, Twin Peaks. Yeah, man. That's. I wish I would have thought of that though. But that's. But I love comics, man. I mean, just I've recently started buying old issues of Impact. Impact Comics was like a.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember Impact?
I've heard of Impact Comics. It's a long time ago.
It was a DC. It was a DC subprint, and
it was the old characters that. And what's the?
It was Archie. They were Archie, yeah.
Okay,
Archie superheroes, like the Shield and the Fly. And I started buying it because of the artist Mike Parabek, who worked on the Fly. His style's really, really smooth and cartoony and really cool. And I went on eBay and some guy was selling a whole pile of them for really dirt cheap. So
damn.
So now I'm filling in the gaps. I read the same books that I read, when I was in high school, because they're all still around. And some, Books of Magic and The Dreaming and Swamp Thing just had there's a Swamp Thing Halloween special that just came out. But there's a Blade Runner comic from Titan, which is so good, man. If you're into Blade Runner,
I watched the director's cut. I watched that there of Blade, the first one. I loved it.
Yeah,
I went on a cruise a couple years ago, and on the 11th deck, on the outside there, they had a big movie projector, and they were showing movies. So 11 o'clock at night, I'm out in the middle of the ocean there watching Blade Runner, and I'm sitting there. I'm trying to watch it. I'm relaxed, had my drink, and I'm like sitting there. I saw the beginning of it, and I'm like, this is great. I made it all the way up to the part where he runs into Harrison Ford, and my wife's like, is like, go to bed. And I'm like, I want to stay awake. I want to watch this, but I didn't get to finish it. I never did go back and watch it.
It's a slow burn, man. It is, but it's just so, and that's just like a detective movie in space, not in space, but using like a sci-fi detective movie,
right? And
so those kind of things. It's just amazing how lucky we are as a society that we still have. Pop culture is just gigantic now.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to be I was literally the only kid in my high school that read comics, man. It was like, and you got really shit on back then for it. Now people I know that used to give me crap for it are all like, hey, have you ever read this? Have you read this? Have you? You know, and it's like, fuck you guys, man. Yeah, like you used to, you know.
Exactly. I got same thing happened to me, man. Same thing happened to me. Me and 5 other kids, we collected the Marvel comic cards, and we would trade them back and forth. And I traded so much cards back and forth with my friends on the, I think it was the Series 2. I was one card short of collecting the whole set, and it was the card with Punisher versus Jigsaw, and I'm trying to find someone that had that card, and it's like I had a bunch of doubles and triples and quadruples of cards, and they're like, I want this one. I'm like, no, you can't have that. That's my single one. And then finally one of my friends had that card, and then, you know, you get the checklist. I'm like, card 101. I was like, I need it. I'm like, it's like I had all this cards, and I just like shoved it towards them. I'm like, you can have all this. I want that one card. And when I got it felt like I felt like Thanos completing the Finley Gauntlet.
Yeah, and then it's just like, what do you do next? What's your next thing to conquer? Yeah, I remember I was trying to get. I lost a bunch of comics in a flood in my basement. This was, I think, probably before my daughter was born. And so I tried to go, and a lot of them were Hellblazer books and things like that. So I was trying to go back and piece together the whole, because there's 300 issues of that first run of Hellblazer, you know. Yeah. And so I did, and there was something like, there's the first issue is kind of pricey, but the issue where his first appearance in Swamp Thing is like usually like $30-40, something like that. The issue that Neil Gaiman wrote is for some reason kind of high in price. It's really good though, but for some reason there was like some random issue I just couldn't find, and it wasn't like it was a debut of a character. It wasn't a key issue or anything like that. It was just some random. It was like 72 or something, and it took me forever to find that one freaking issue of this thing. And then I remember finding it. We were somewhere in a store. I think it was like a Half Price Books or something. And I'm flipping through the books, and there it is, and it's like $1. So I pulled it out of the thing, and I was just like, called Cheryl, I don't want to say girlfriend. We're in our 40s. She's my partner. You know, we're not married, but you know, you can't say girl. You know, I've known her for 25 years, and we're 46. You know, so I called her over, and I was like, "Oh my God, look at what it is!" And she's like, "So?" Because she's not into any of this. And you know, I was like, "This is the one I need. This is the last one that I need." And I remember I put it in the box, and I like looked at this big long box that's all nothing but Hellblazer, because they only kept hold of about 300 issues. I just remember kind of standing there with my hands on my hips, just like this satisfied sort of like, yeah, I got all of you now. And then I'm like, now what am I going to do? Like, I spent all this time searching for this one random comic, and now that I found it in some half price, what do I do? So I picked another thing. I was like, you know what, I'm going to find every appearance of Ragman for some reason. Or
why not? Ragman is
awesome.
I popped so big when he showed up on Arrow. I'm like, what? That and Wild Dog. I'm like,
Wild Dog.
Wild Dog? Are you kidding me? Yes, I'm going to watch you, Arrow.
What? Wild Dog was silly, man. Wild Dog was a silly book.
But I remember getting that and thinking, oh, this is going to be the shit. And then Punisher came out. And I was like, yeah, that guy's a goof.
Yeah.
Well, the Punisher's been out, but
I hate the Punisher. I'm one of the, like, the Punisher would not exist in a world with Captain America, because the Punisher is a mass murderer, and Captain America would have him locked in like a 5x5 cement block for the rest of his life.
Has Captain America and Punisher met? Have they had in?
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But there's got to be. They need to do finally
in Civil War. In Civil War, there's a great scene in the Civil War series where you know, they're the underground, Captain America and all them, and Punisher's there, and the Punisher's like, you know, you guys are being pansies about this. It needs to be like this. Blah 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 blah. He goes storming off. And you know, Captain America says something, and Spider-Man says, you know, they're the same guy, different war. Captain America's like, no, we're not the same goddamn guy. Right now.
Let's clear something up right now.
Yes.
So yeah, they've had interaction. And what drew me to Punisher is like I know he's not a hero.
No,
Yeah.
he's an anti-hero.
He's a guy that and you know no one could really do, but you see shit and you get fed up. You just why isn't these people getting what they deserve and blah 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 blah. So it's that kind of fantasy, and plus it was born out of the Charles Bronson movies.
The Death Wish.
I grew up on the Death Wish movies and The Mechanic and Mr. Majestic.
Oh my God, dude. Death Wish.
That's what appeals to me about the Punisher is it reminds me of the old Charles Bronson movies.
Exactly.
But
what I like about
I would never claim superhero. That's one thing I would never categorize.
He's not a superhero. He's a normal guy who takes the law into his own hands. He's like a vigilante.
Yeah.
And what I like about him is just like he sees something that's not right. He goes after him, man. He goes after the scum that's done wrong. He's the guy that people's afraid to go after. He's like, I'm going right in there. I mean, heck, Megadeth wrote a song, killing is my business and business is good, man. You listen to the lyrics, it's about the Punisher.
As a fantasy, it's great to love that guy.
Yeah.
But if the guy was around in real life, you would be kind of like, I think maybe the cops should do something about him.
Yeah. But like, what happens is like what's happening now is that the wrong people are latching onto the character, and they're like these militia guys from wherever the hell they are, all over the place. They're latching onto this character, and they're missing kind of the
he's a broken human being. That's
First off, I mean, look at the story of
the
him.
Harley Quinn Joker relationship.
Right.
That's not love. That is an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
That should not be your goal in life.
Right.
Nah.
Right.
She basically
That's just
Joker
avoiding like the plague.
Yeah. Joker brainwashed her and got her to fall for him, man. She was perfectly fine. When she walked in that room with Joker, it's like, she's broken.
Yeah.
But
then you get these girls who are like putting up pictures of Harley and Joker, and they're like, relationship goals? No.
No. It's almost like the Bonnie and Clyde almost, if you think about it.
Right.
It's like their way. It's like, okay, how do we enhance Joker? Let's put him with a doctor. Maybe there was something too. Maybe there was something already there underneath Harley, and Joker just woke it up, man. You know what I mean? Maybe there was something there already, and that's basically, it was like, okay, let's turn him into a crazy Bonnie and Clyde duo.
Yeah, and he's horrible to her, and she just stayed. Yeah. And I think what this reflects on, if we get into like some kind of like psychological thing, I think our society, we're so beaten up all the time that we don't even realize when we're looking at something
that's bad,
and it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, we have no idea. Like, we have no idea anymore. Like, we've got teenage girls thinking they want a boyfriend who's just like the Joker, and then we've got like these fat asses with their assault rifles going into Starbucks and shit. Like we don't even know. Like, everything's broken, and we have no, like, it's just, and it just keeps getting worse, and it keeps getting. And so as I'm getting older, and as the world outside is getting more and more because it is like, people are like, oh, the world's always been like this. Well, yeah, the world has always been like this. That's fine. But used to be, if you were a racist, it was you and your buddy in the basement of your house somewhere out in Podunk, Mississippi. You didn't have a forum to go onto on Facebook and gather thousands of other people like you. Yeah. Like, I miss those old days. I miss it when, like, yeah, okay, we know they exist, but they're hiding, and they wear hoods for a reason.
Yeah.
You know,
the world's always been like this, but we didn't put it out on Front Street for
right.
Like,
so
I just said the other day to my wife, and then somebody else a friend on Facebook was posting about how, things have just gone to shit. I was like, I literally told my wife, someone just needs to come in and give America an ass whooping and tell it to stand in the corner.
And just stand in the corner.
We're getting out of control here.
It is. But as that's happening, I'm finding myself enjoying more and more the sort of more simplistic, like as far as comics are concerned, I'm going and I'm reading some kind of the more friendly sort of stuff. And it's like I find myself, because, when I was 19 and 20, I liked sort of like the more hardcore, like, I listened to industrial music and I was, but now it's like everything I write is kind of more like I like the sort of more classic-y kind of things. I like that I find myself not enjoying television like, for instance, what's a good example? Like Breaking Bad. Like Breaking Bad as a television show is incredibly well done, well written, well acted. Like, it's good. It's a good show.
Yeah.
But I can't watch it because everybody's an asshole, and there isn't a redeeming. Like, there needs to be a good guy.
See, now, I watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because they are so terrible.
Oh, they're horrible.
It makes me feel good about whatever decisions I make in life.
That's funny that you bring that up, Ripper, because the other day, for some reason, Dayman popped in my head, and I had to look up the clip on YouTube. I love that song.
I want to go back a little bit when you were talking about the Impact comics and like the cartoon.
And that's why I'm reading those. That's what I meant to say, is that I'm reading those because it was more like kid-friendly and,
Right.
I remember the book you was working on when I first met you was Solitaire. And what I loved about Solitaire, and this is how he built it, it was like the Seinfeld of comics. It was a comic about nothing. The issue I have, he's literally talking to the audience for the majority of it, and at the end of it, he's talking to you.
Yeah.
And I believe Bendis was there at the con, and that he somehow got a hold of your book. If I remember right, I believe he came up to you and was like, "God, I hate you."
Yeah. That was something.
I was writing Spider-Man at the time, and all that stuff. He was like the hot guy. He walks in with a Mikey and tells him, "This, I hate you. This is so good, I hate you."
Yeah, that was something, because it was like the first thing that I ever really did. It was the first thing that I ever really put together and got out there. And I look at it now, and it's like this, it's really shitty, and I want to redo it. But that character's still kind of in my head. Like, the idea is that he's a comic book character who knows he's a comic book character, and comic book characters are like actors, and they have writers and creators, and they do that whole thing. And it's more about just kind of the idea of being. Being the idea of comics is kind of more interesting to me than like the book Love in a Time of Supervillains that I don't know if you ever read that one. I only got one issue up, but I have and I'm gearing up to redo it because I found all the scripts, because I thought I had lost them, but I found them all. And Love in a Time of Supervillains is more about, the idea is basically like, what if Superman and Wonder Woman got drunk in Las Vegas and married each other and they never really wanted to? But the public loves it. So how do they deal with all of that fallout? So there's this, and it's basically this love story, and the superheroics aspect of it isn't even part of it until like the tail end. There's a little bit of like adventure stuff comes in, but for the most part, it's like, what are these people like? How do you deal with? Like, there's a conversation they have about. His name's Cosmic Man, but he's based, and Solitaire is a character in that kind of but Cosmic Man is basically Superman. Basically, he's my Superman analog. But they talk about like, so who are you? Do you pay taxes? Like, what do you like? They have this conversation about whether or not Superman pays taxes. And he's like, well, Superman doesn't pay taxes, but Cosmic Man or whatever doesn't pay taxes, but his secret identity does. But you don't have to if you didn't want to. He's like, no, I probably wouldn't have to. And they're like, but I choose to because it's the right thing to do. And they're like, what are you talking about? Right. Why would you pay taxes if you didn't? So there's this whole thing about that, and like, how are you registered? Like, who are you really? Like, what is? So if you think about Superman, who is he really? And that's a lot of writers play on that. Is he Superman? Is he Clark Kent? Or is he somebody somewhere in the middle?
Right.
Is he Kal-El? Is this you know, is he a U.S. citizen, or is he a does he have his citizenship? Does he not? Does he belong to the United States, or does he not belong to you? So I like those elements of things, and the idea of Batman being so traumatized that he has to dress up in a leather suit and beat people. If you think about it on that level, it's just bizarre. It's just so weird. So there's this guy in like black leather and a clown, and they try to kill each other, but neither of them wants to actually kill each other, because if they kill each other, well, if Batman kills the Joker, then he's like failed. And if the Joker kills Batman, he's lost his source of fun. Like, what's he going to do?
Exactly.
And so those elements are what I like, and that's what I write about, and things there.
You mentioned Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, my favorite. I got the hardback cover issue of it. It's my favorite Batman story that I've read so far. I haven't dug too much into a lot of the Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that, which I want to, because when I hear Ripper talk about it, it's like I really want to go get it now and read it. Killing Joke is my favorite Batman Joker story. I just love that, and I've gotten started looking at the animated cartoon movies from DC. They got a bunch of them. I told you I found at where I work at, someone donated on Blu-ray Batman Ninja, and I had an ex-girlfriend.
That's awesome.
I have one of my ex-girlfriends got me into anime, and I jump back and forth in it. I dabble in it here, not as much like I used to back in the day when I dated her, but I got box sets of anime that's boxed up. I haven't cracked open in years, but when I saw that there, because I think a few years ago my nephew showed it to me, and it was the Japanese version of it it wasn't English dub yet. When I found this, I was like, dude, I sat down last week and I watched it, and I got done watching it. I hit Ripper up. I'm like, dude, just got done watching Batman Ninja. He's like, yeah, I watched it. It sucked. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm careful. But I'm not a big anime guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's just
visually.
Visually, I liked it.
Story wise, I mean, I kind of like what they did, but I watched the special features on it, and you notice the beginning of it when he first gets to Japan, and they're coming after him and stuff, and he throws a smoke bomb, and he holds up the gun, and it's like, oh, we got no buildings here. They did that on purpose, it's like to show, it's like they put Batman out of his element, and I like that. It's like, you can't rely on this stuff that you got, dude. You got to actually adapt.
Batman, so he adapts, he overcomes.
He does. He does.
Which is why he's my favorite character.
Yeah, I too.
There's been so many variations of Batman from the 30s. If you look at the old stuff in the 30s and compared to now, and it's kind of like Superman too. I love Superman more as a concept than I do as a comic book character, because a lot of Superman comics are kind of shitty. They're kind of
heard.
But like the old 1930s Superman, where he wasn't he couldn't really fly, he could just jump really far, and he used to, he came out during the Great Depression, and his villains at the time were corrupt landlords and mob bosses and things like that.
Yeah.
And he'd break wrists and throw people through windows and things like that, but he was just this. And then compared to Lex Luthor came in sometime around the 40s and 50s, when the mad scientist thing became big, and there's when you have characters that have been around for 80 years, it's how do you not run out of things to say about them?
Right.
What do you do? What do you do that's different? And
right.
That's why they say that every writer has a Batman story in them or as a Superman story. I don't personally, because I can't think of a scenario that I can put them in other than like Superman. He's the most powerful being in the universe, and he's bulletproof and all these other things. And his biggest weakness is humanity. It's just that's his biggest weakness.
Yeah.
If you hurt human beings or the people near him, that's how you get to him. Whereas Batman's sort of the opposite. He doesn't have any humanity left at all. And then you get somebody like Tom King comes in and writes him and does give him a little bit of humanity, and the fanboys hated it, man. They hated it. But it's some of the best Batman stuff I've ever read, because he's tortured, and it's the way he should be. Like he's a tortured person. He's like, should I keep doing this? Why am I doing this?
Right.
What is the point?
Right, exactly. I mean, for God's sakes, man, he's seen his parents getting killed in front of him. That would mess you up there, and just his mission on what he wants to do. And
there's this the guy that shot his parents is this guy named Joe Chill in the comics, and they did stuff with Joe Chill. Like he eventually. I think eventually he did go to prison or whatever like that. But I always thought it would be more interesting if Joe Chill was a fabrication of Batman. Like Bruce has no idea who killed his parents. Nobody has any idea who killed his parents, and Bruce just makes up this person to have a goal in his head. Yeah. That's his ultimate goal, is he needs to find this guy, and he'll never find him ever. And that's because the guy's either dead himself or he's fallen off of the face of the earth or whatever, and he's gone. But it gives Bruce Wayne or Batman this target, and that's kind of the idea. They talked about something similar in L.A. Confidential. If you ever saw L.A. Confidential,
yes.
The one cop had a name. I can't remember what it was. It was like Rolo something, and it was a name that he always. That's what Joe Chill should be. He should be the symbolic.
Guys are so sick.
Yeah. Basically, doesn't really exist. Just kind of, and like I'm looking at my shelf as I'm talking to you guys, and it's like I've got it's like Alex Raymond, Flash Gordon stuff, and then old Superman 1940s strips, and then like Mage and Grendel by Matt Wagner, and like a whole Alex Toth section, and then Wizard of Oz books, and it's just like everything is so. My brain is constantly, I have attention deficit disorder like mad, and comics are a way for me to focus it. Yeah, and always have been, and I love it. I love comics so much, and Cheryl was telling me that I need to pare down. What happens if you have to move and you have all these books and you got to pack them up? Well, I hire people to do it for me or something. I'm not getting rid of my books. It's not happening. During
the pandemic, like the guy who owns the wrestling promotion that I work for in Hamilton, the FGW, his other thing is he owns a comic book store.
Oh, wow.
So he's having these Facebook Live sales since he couldn't be open.
Yeah. And
dropping over $100 every time he has these sales, right? So my wife decides during the summer where we're going to start inventorying your books. I want so we know what you got, so you don't end up, because I'll buy something that I'll buy that and then take it home, and I already got 2 copies of it, stuff like that. So, but we haven't done it for a while. We stopped at 1,600 and something.
Yeah, I can't even. Imagine. And she's right, and it's going to suck moving everything out of here if I ever have to move out of here. But like I see a picture. You mentioned your wife. I see a picture of your wife on the back wall. Now, Everett, I've never seen your wife, but I know you batted way out of your league, son, and so did I. And somehow or another, Nerd Boys do good. I don't know how we did it, but
Well, my wife had more self-esteem in high school, so that was part of it. She stalked me in high school, so I showed her.
Nice.
I met my wife 10 years ago. I met her at work, and we've been married 8 years. Just September, we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary, and
very cool.
I've gotten her to watch and gotten into some of the stuff, she'll let me know right away if she likes it or hates it. I got her watching when Arrow. We haven't finished watching Arrow. I think we're still back in I believe when he went to prison and he's getting out of prison. I think we stopped it to the point where he just got out of prison and something happens and it was like, it was Oliver Queen, he was the Green Arrow, and it's like, no. And then I think actually no, we got up to the point where he found out he had a half sister, and that's the last time we watched it. But when it first started, and then when it coincided with the Flash doing the crossovers and stuff, we'd watch that, and we'd watch Arrow, watch Flash, Arrow back and Flash back and forth and stuff. And then she watched Legends, DC Legends. She was like, eh. But then out of the shows, she sat down and watched Supergirl. She was like, I don't really feel it. It's like, well, out of all these 4 shows, what do you like? And she's like, I like Arrow. she loves it.
And my wife watches none of that. But
Cheryl's not into any of that stuff.
She'll watch some of the movies. What surprised me and my son is she liked Deadpool.
Yeah, well, Deadpool's fun.
Well, my wife isn't into the vulgar humor and all that.
Oh, okay.
Stuff.
What's she doing with you?
Yeah. Exactly.
You are vulgar humor.
My wife loved Deadpool, man.
Yeah.
She watched Deadpool and she's like, well, I like that. And I was like, there had to be a bunch of stuff that went over her head. Had to.
Cheryl and Zoe, my daughter Zoe, they really like Star Wars, which is cool. So I get.
My wife despises Star Wars.
Oh,
my wife loved it, man. We watched the new ones that came out. She enjoyed them. She really did like the last one, and she did. And I was like, she liked The Rise of Skywalker, and I liked it. I liked it plenty. Yeah, Zoe's favorite character is Zoe. She's 13. Her favorite character is Palpatine. So she's being Palpatine for Halloween, and like I bought her the cane and stuff, and she's got the hood. Her grandma made her the hood and everything, and she's obsessed with Sith Lords. And we started to kind of wonder if we should worry about that.
Yeah, and we're like, flag.
Yeah, we're like, what about the hero guys? Do you like them? And she's like, yeah, they're okay, but I like these guys because they wear all black, and they're like, yeah, you know. So that's a little bizarre, but it's neat seeing, you know, my kid be into the, like, finally I have somebody that I can talk to about all of this crap that I have in my head.
Yeah, that's how I've got Logan for my son. My daughter, she likes stuff, but she ain't like into it. Like like Logan buys comics. Logan will watch my daughter will watch any kind of comic book movie or any kind of movie's got like superheroes in it and stuff. She likes superheroes, but she ain't reading the comics and all that stuff. That's more of a thing me and him have. Yeah. And my wife, when we first got together, she got like, all right, I'm gonna get into. I have like 2 long boxes, ain't nothing but Superman stuff, because she decided that's what she wanted. Superman. That's my character. Cool. So we go conventions, and you know, she had nothing. Yeah. We're rating dollar bins, and she had. She wanted me to put things in order for a bit, and my filing, you know, people have their comics in alphabetical order in their long boxes, but that's not how I do it. Like I do things that way either. Yeah, like mine, like I have a box, like it's like the it's Zorro, and then Zorro and the Lone Ranger, and then the Lone Ranger, and then the Lone Ranger Green Hornet, and then the Green Hornet stuff, and all the Green Hornet stuff is in, you know, the order that they came in at, you know, all those. That's how I. Right. Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense to her. Yeah. My biggest one is Justice League. So I'll have Justice League, blah, 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 and then it's characters that are in the Justice League. Right. Have.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
About 2004, I got back in the comics there. I started with the Spider-Man. I started with that. I found Wolverine. I collected up so far, and then they started over again with issue 1. I started all the way up to that. Then I came across Daredevil, collected that, and then I started collecting different things. I was like, you know what? I'll get back into Thor. So I picked up some Thor issues. I'm like, this sucks, because the story I thought was horrible, because it was about the politics and religion and I'm like, I don't care for it. So I was like, pass. Then I looked at DC, and then they had this storyline going on where it's like you had to take the story continues in Catwoman number 58, and then back over here to Superman 12, and it was like, what the hell? I can't collect all these. And then I moved out of my dad's house, and then I was like, I just might as well just give up now because I was collecting them like big time, getting back into it. I got a storage bin with a bunch of comics, and you mentioned about losing comics. I've lost, and I've still have not found it. I don't know what I've done with it. I had a 3-issue series of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The art was done all in black and white, and it was where, I guess the backstory was Splinter got killed. The Turtles were going to take out Shredder once and for all. And they go to the place where Shredder's at. And I think Leonardo has a big fight with Shredder on the top of the building. And they had these clones that look like Shredder. I don't know which one, if you know what I'm talking about. But Oroku Saki, Shredder, he rips off his outfit, and he's all hairy, and he just strips down to, like, you know, with the sword, and he's fighting Leonardo, and at the end of the book there, Leo cuts his head off, and they avenge Splinter. But it was a 3-part thing, and I had that for years. I don't know what the hell happened to it, and I'm still trying to find my issue of 432 with Thor, where he kills Loki. I don't know where I put this at. I have it here somewhere. Yeah. But I know what it feels like when you had something there at one point and you lose something, but I got all those. I started recollecting back in the 2004 or 5. I got them boxed up, man. I got them with me, but I did a few years ago when I found out about Kick-Ass, and that it was based off a graphic novel. I was like, really? Because I watched the movie and I'm like, man, this does kick ass. So I went and I picked up the 3 books of Kick-Ass and the one that was in between about Hit Girl. I got all 4 of those. Yeah. I have a double thick book, graphic novel, Fight Club 2. I haven't even picked up and read yet. yeah. That's actually really good. It's better than it has a right to be. The only Thor thing I have, Chris Samney did the art on a book called Thor. What was it called? The Mighty Avenger or something like that. It was a really short run, but it was really good. Because I like Chris Samney's artwork a lot, and that's what I follow artists a lot more than I necessarily follow writers. There's some writers that Neil Gaiman, I'll buy anything that Neil Gaiman writes and things like that. But for the most part, I follow artists just because that's what I kind of always wanted to do. Right. But I have all these scripts that I want other people to draw that I just
you and me both.
Right, seriously, man. And it's hard. It's hard. You'd think with the pandemic going on that people would be more creative, and some people are. Some people are like just using the time to be more creative and pump stuff out. I'm working from home, so of course all my hours have increased and what I do is increased because I work for a bank and it's kind of right, time consuming, but
right. What what you mentioned having the comic strip on Graphite on the website there.
Yeah.
What else do you have planned that you're going to be working on?
What else you want to plug, Mikey?
Well, okay. Well, you can still get Hate Your Friends and Pack of Lies, it's called, through Amazon. If you look up Hate Your Friends and Mikey Wood, it'll come up, or Pack of Lies, Mikey Wood. Pack of Lies was a jam comic I did with I wrote the whole thing and did like 3 or 4 chapters of it, and then other local Pittsburgh guys like Marcel Walker and
also another very cool guy.
Yeah, all those guys, they did chapters in it. Byron Winton.
Bender do anything in it?
Did he? Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. He did a chapter in there. So those are available on Amazon. I am working on, I do want to get, Hate Your Friends Volume 2 done. I want to get Love in a Time of Supervillains thing rolling. But I'm also writing. I've been tossing around this idea of writing this. I want to do kind of more slice of life books that are sort of like autobiographical, but also possibly helpful. So I want to do one called Snipped, which is about me getting a vasectomy. Honestly, because it's embarrassing and funny, but necessary, because I think we put the burden on ladies way too much. And I think men are afraid of the idea of that kind of thing. And I kind of I want it to be an educational sort of thing for men.
Right.
Because I think we need to talk about that kind of shit more. You know, I don't think enough people. So it's just because of and also I'm reconsidering how I do everything, just because the world is so wonky right now. And when you have actual bad guys, like right there, you know, it kind of changes the way you think about fantasy bad guys. So I want to do slice of life stuff. There was one I wrote called Loverboy, which was about, you know, me being in my 20s and I just think it's drawing something that's kind of heartfelt, but also kind of like a little bit embarrassing and a little bit of, you know, I think it has a potential to be funny and something people can get into. But I don't really know, because that could be also narcissistic of me, thinking that somebody would give a shit about things that happen in my life. You know, who cares? But you never know. I mean, it might find an audience. But those are what I'm kind of working on, and I think most of the stuff is going to be like print to order through Amazon or put on Graphite, because I like how they do. You can just upload an entire book to Graphite in like one night, and people start reading it. You know, like I put El Fantasma up there, and it's been looked at like 700 something times by people. I'm not getting any feedback, but that's sometimes good. If people hate, like I found that if people are unhappy with something, they'll tell you. If people like something, they won't say anything.
Right.
So
kind of like I've always been taught, if you're doing it right, then I don't need to tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But if people hate something, they're like, "Oh, this sucked." You know, they'll get right on it, and but
yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's it. That's what I'm working on.
Nice.
And keep chugging out stuff, and keep talking to people like you guys, and keep everybody sane during this very crazy time that we're experiencing. 2020. Well, you know what happened was that Prince and David Bowie died, and that was it. They were holding everything down. They were holding. They were the cosmic balance of the world.
Yeah. And they were. They were
in our brains. Like if you would have asked me when I was 8 years old what I thought the year 2020 was going to be like, well, shit, we were going to have personal jetpacks, and we were going to be able to do this and teleport, and you know, nobody. I would have never imagined it would just be a shit show, and that's.
I'm still waiting for my flying DeLorean, man.
Right. Where is that?
Yeah,
where is that?
I'm waiting for my flying DeLorean, my hoverboard. I've been waiting for that since I was a kid, man.
There was an article somebody wrote. I wish I could remember who it was, but I think the title of it, if not like the main idea, was "I was promised flying cars."
Yeah,
and really we had these ideas. Like back in the 90s, there was a comic from Vertigo called 2020 Visions, and it was all about like, you know, the year 2020 and augmented reality and all this other stuff. And instead it's just like, fuck, you know, okay, yeah, you can get groceries delivered to your house now. That's kind of cool, you know. Yeah. I found out that I really don't have to leave my house for any reason at all ever. No. And that's kind of cool, you know. But really, it's like I know a lot of people are having a hard time with it, and a lot of people are like, you know, I want to be able to socialize. I want to be able. Me personally, I don't like people, so I'm good. I'm fine, you know. But other folks, they can't. Like, it must be weird watching. Are they doing wrestling and stuff? As an example, are they doing that?
We just started back up in Ohio like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So.
They've been
with audiences, or is it without audiences?
At limited, like 15% capacity. Whatever the full capacity is of the building that you're running in, you can only do 15%.
Yeah. Here in Florida,
I mean, maybe that's good.
They've like, what happened was when Florida got locked down, I mean, they shut everything down. Now, WWE, they have a headquarters. Actually, they got like a performance center where they're training. It's called NXT, and they train the next generation of wrestlers. Well, they're at the performance center. They were shooting Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown there. Well, when Florida got locked down, the cops were showing up there at the performance center. It's like, you need to shut down. And it's like, we're filming a TV show. We don't care. So Vince got on the phone and you called his buddy, his best friend, Trump, and said, do something about this. So he contacted
Florida is the only state in all of the United States that pro wrestling was considered essential.
Yeah. and
they wonder why like their cases are like
like, I know there's not to sound crude or prude or anything, but most of the majority of the people who live in the state of Florida are from up north. There's not really anyone from actually, like, I was born here, and it's just mostly from up in New York, and
there's very few, because people who are born in Florida, like you guys, they usually die off pretty early. A gator gets them or something. No.
You know how I survive? Yeah, I stay away from the beach. There's that whole thing. Do you know about the village? Well, I'm sure Everett knows about the villages. Do you know the villages?
The villages is like this gigantic. It's like a city of just retired people. It's just a bunch of old people in one location. Because I think when it comes down to it, it's a government plot. So like if we ever have to, we could just like eat them. That's if we'll ever they keep them all in one location.
I'm gonna go to one if it comes down to it. I don't have to go far.
Yeah, it is out near you, isn't it? The villages. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, like Florida's nuts. Florida's a nutty place. And my uncle used to live in Jacksonville for my mom lives down there now. My mom lives in Jacksonville. Down there, and so she tells me about all of that, how she stays masked and walks the dog and things like that. But I think that's what happens when you live up north and the cold gets to be too much for you. You just head down there, and it is like 75% or 80% of the state is that. But yeah, so I think that 15% capacity thing for like a Comic-Con will be a good thing because it'll cut the smell down a whole lot. That's
exactly. I was going to say this. I was going to say one thing is a lot of the comic conventions and stuff has been virtual, and I feel that a lot of the people that get asked to go to these things, they're probably like, oh god, man, I gotta go, and then I'm gonna meet that guy or that person that's it's just like they left their house just to see me. And doing the virtual event, they don't have to worry about that though. But still, I mean, it's just it's not it's not the same, but that would be a good idea if they at least cut down the capacity of it. I mean, some of the people that go to the conventions, they pretty much they
the light of day. I'm telling you.
I love cons. I love conventions.
Do you ever want to feel good about yourself?
Yeah, well, that's true. But I love conventions are my element, man, because like Corey could tell you, like I was. I love talking to people. I love talking to the customers. Right. I love drawing sketch cards for people. I love that element of things. So I do miss that element of certain things. But I think do 3-day conventions, but only sell 1-day passes. That way everybody has a chance to go on a particular day.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Do something like that or something so that it is, so you do have a capacity kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, that's, it's going to be a different world, and now a lot of people not to get all political, but hopefully, fingers crossed, things change in November, and but people need to understand that the world isn't going to change. Like we've, especially comic book guys, like we need to, like the bad guys have been rooted out, and we know who they are now, and we have to deal with them for the next 5-10 years until we can get rid of them.
Right.
And it's not going to change automatically. Like the world's I think we're I don't think we're going to go back to normal for a long time, or if ever. I don't think there is a normal anymore.
It's going to take a while. It's I feel 2021, 2022, it's going to take some time, and I think by 2023, we're going to look back and be like, damn, that was crazy
sucked.
3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, but man, like that was some bullshit. Remember that? Yeah. Remember when we all had to wear masks? That was some shit. Yeah. After we're all breathing with these apparatuses, because
I know I get to. It's funny because every day when I put that thing on, I say when I'm at work, because I have to wear them. I'm out in the public still.
Yeah.
So I put the mask on and I say, well, I'll look at my coworkers and they just laugh every day, because it's almost every day I put the mask on. I look over, I go, I am ready to go find the Batman now. They're going to break him.
For those of us who were into like G.I. Joe comics and stuff, okay, so we're in Cobra for a while. Yeah. That's like. We just deal with it so we're ninjas. We've always wanted to be ninjas. Now we know that it's very uncomfortable to be a ninja, because wearing that thing all day kind of sucks. It looks great for like the first hour, and then after about like 2-3 hours, it's like, okay, this is terrible.
I had a customer get just laughing at me because they were looking for something, and I was like, we don't have that. And then they looked at me and they're like real serious. They're like, well, why don't you have this? What do you know? And then I was like, and just all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I want to see what happens with this. Is it going to probably go good or go bad? If it goes bad, I'm just going to walk off and pretend like they're crazy. So I just looked at them and I said, I know I am Bane and I'm looking for the Batman. They just started laughing. They said, oh my God, you wore that mask too long. And they turned around and walked off. They're laughing.
That's awesome.
So I have fun at it. And one day I walked out in front of everyone and I said, has anyone seen the Batman?
Has anyone seen the Batman?
I have fun. I have fun with it, man.
Yeah.
I just
like that I can mouth like obscenities to people and they don't know it. I'm just like, they're just like,
they still know I'm doing it.
Yeah, they do. And then they know it's you.
And at first, they were looking at me like if I was like, they say something and I'm just sitting there, I'm like this. And they don't know if I'm like, smiling. I'm like, so I learned to, when I had to smile with my eyes. And someone's like, how do you smile with your eyes? Yeah. And I go like this. I go, just to show that I'm smiling.
That's right.
Something, some kind of, because facial expressions, because you see someone come up and they're just like this, you don't know what the facial expressions, the connection with people. That's right. I feel like that right there, because we've gotten so used. Now we're going to get so used to seeing people with masks, and when they don't have the mask, you're like, who are you again?
Yeah.
Before it was like, oh, I didn't recognize you, man. You had the mask on, but still, But
it shows that disguise works. That kind of like thing. That was the original Green Hornet mask. Was it a bottom or was it the full? I think it was the full face at one point too. Yeah. In the serials, there was a full face, and then
But
all right, man.
This has been great, man. This has been great.
Yeah.
I want to apologize for a couple weeks ago, again. But, I told Ripper, I'm like, dude, I am so looking forward to talking about Mikey. I've been entertained with your post and everything that I've been seeing. And I love it, man. And
I'm a Facebook sociopath, so. But anytime, man, anytime. If you guys ever want to just shoot the shit, I please let me know, because this is a pleasure. So. Yeah,
definitely.
We'll definitely have you on. It's the only time I get to see you.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. There's no excuse for that nonsense. But somewhere I still have a bar of zombie soap I bought from you guys a long time ago.
Oh, that was Wayne. We had Wayne on a couple weeks
ago. With Wayne, yeah.
It was
I used to have it.
The Jonathan.
Yeah. I used to have it on a sweat glycerin for a while. That happened. And then and now I don't know where it's somewhere in a box somewhere, but yeah, I do have to piss, so that's one thing I gotta. So since we're wrapping up.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, and then me and Rippers, we're gonna hit a commercial and then discuss about some wrestling. But it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'll keep listening, man. It's a pleasure, man. I like this stuff.
Love to have you back. We'll definitely have to figure out a time to do this again.
For sure. Thanks,
Definitely.
Guys. Thanks
You're
for letting me
welcome.
ramble for a while.
No
That's
problem,
nice.
man.
All right.
All right.
You guys are awesome, man. Thank you.
Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Head over to podcastcity.net. Follow them on social media, Podcast City Network on Facebook, Twitter at Podcast City Net. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Podcast City Network, and on Twitch, /Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network. Be creative, be independent, be yourself. When I need a logo or graphic design done, I use 3 Count Design. 3 Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography, and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. For more information, head over to facebook.com/3countdesign. That is facebook.com/3countdesign. When I want to kick back a few cold ones with my friends, I head over to City Limits Tap Room. City Limits Tap Room has a wide selection of TVs to watch your favorite sports, indoor and outdoor seating. They are pet friendly. City Limits Tap Room also has food made fresh to order, and the grilled cheese is excellent. I recommend the grilled cheese and the apple pie cider with fries on the side. Can't go wrong with that, baby. For more information for upcoming events, head over to facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Want to thank Mikey Wood again for coming on and talking with Ripper Blackheart myself about what he does in the comic book industry, being an independent comic book creator. You could follow Mikey Wood on the links that he mentioned in this episode. And that's it. We'll see you again next time for another new episode of The Everett Lee Show.